And we're back with Carly Joe Jackson, who is we lost connectivity there for a second, which can happen these days when the internet is not being cooperative. But I'm thrilled she's here. So we're just starting. Did you always so you wanted to be an artist from an early age? Tell us about your journey.
Yeah, definitely. I always thought about being a singer because I knew I liked to play around on stage. I loved my acting and dancing classes that I would go to, but I always thought being a singer would be like really hard to do. I didn't know how to get started with it, but eventually I just kind of started following my inclinations, like going to vocal lessons and stuff, and turned it into an everyday thing. So I'm so happy I did. It just, it's the same thing that goes to show nothing is too hard if you really, really want to do it.
Absolutely. Did you grow up in a musical family?
Somewhat. My parents love music, so there was always music around in the house. And I feel like even in my farthest memories, I can remember little dance parties that we would have at home, just the five of us. We would come home from long day at school or work, and they would put on like Red Hot Chili Peppers or Bob Marley, and we would just start dancing around and being goofy. It was always like music is a good thing in my family, always.
That love of music is so important, and just being around it all the time. And not necessarily. I find a pretty mixed bag when with the artists we have on the show. Some come from very musical families of professional musicians, and some just like music is around them all
Yeah.
the time. And I just love that it does. It just shows that everyone comes from such a different place in their
hmm
path.
It's innate. Like when you're a baby, you don't almost need anybody to tell you what to do. Whenever music comes on, you just start moving, and it's because
Bobbin.
it's what happens. And so to have somebody kind of guide you through that musical culture is really important. Music in schools, I think that that's really important too, because that's definitely where I got lots of my feelings for music in orff class and percussion and stuff like that. It's just a good thing. It's a good outlet.
So did you play? What was your first instrument?
My first instrument was probably like most. I played the recorder in school. I don't know if you would call
That's really the first instrument. Wow.
really the first one. I don't know if you'd really call that, but it is true. You're following a staff with notes on it, and playing the notes back. So I would say it's the first opportunity to read music and stuff. And I also was in a percussion class in my low grade elementary and stuff. So that also felt really cool to do a lot. But I played French horn and all through middle school and some parts into my earlier years. And then guitar just came about whenever I turned 16. I remember all my friends were focused on cars. I'm like, guitar, that's the one. That's what I wanted. So it kind of went in a normal order, but guitar came on pretty early on as well.
So with your guitar playing, you're represented by a guitar company. I mean, it's incredible. And so you took to it really quickly. Did you study privately, or are you self-taught?
I kind of really wanted to play guitar solely just so I could sing at gigs. Like I wanted something to support me so that I wasn't singing to backing vocals and backing tracks. And I just had this mentality where like the sooner I can get that done, the sooner I'm going to be closer to this. So I don't know what it was. It was like I just kind of force myself to know it, but I spent a lot of time on YouTube, and I also did have a private instructor for a couple of years. I would switch between different ones, but the private instructors were really awesome because they taught me how to write my own songs, in a sense of learning cover songs and then applying what you learned there to making your own music. Kind of a fun process. And I encourage using it all. YouTube is a tool in itself, but also there's nothing like a one-on-one session with someone where you can ask questions. And so, because you're so musically involved as well, there's nothing like being able to ask a question and get an answer right back, whenever you're.
Well, it's pretty amazing what students can learn on their own these days. I mean, YouTube, I mean, I use it all the time to learn when I have to build something or have to do something that's, I wouldn't know. I just get my first stab at knowledge I can
Yeah,
find a great video, and it's pretty awesome.
yeah, you can do whatever you want. You can learn how to bind a book. You can literally learn anything on YouTube. It's crazy.
Yeah,
But
but having the mentor to kind of really make sure you're not doing it wrong, make sure your figures aren't
yeah,
unhealthy.
right. And also to kind of specify what exactly you want to learn. Like if you really don't, some people are really into background theory and classical training. Some people just want to get the guitar and start playing their favorite Tom Petty song like today. And both of those are very easily achievable. It just takes time and practice. There's a little hump you got to get over.
Discipline.
Yeah, the guitar does not agree with you at first. It's always funky at first.
No instrument does. And I guess playing the French horn taught you that, because that's one of the hardest instruments to play. That and the oboe and the violin, maybe, are some of the hardest instruments.
Angry with it. Like, it's an inanimate object, but I'm mad at it because it's not producing the sounds that I know I'm giving it. But it just trains you to be very, very patient with yourself, because, you know, it's an inanimate object. So it's really what you're putting into it, and being patient with yourself just provides, you know, water into the stream so you can float down. It's just so much easier when you're giving yourself time.
So you're based in the booming city of Austin, Texas. Are you from there originally?
No, I'm from Orlando, Florida. I was born and raised in Florida my whole life. And I lived in Miami for quite a few years playing music down there, because whenever I first moved there, after I'd been playing guitar for 2 years and I was 18, I was excited to go to college down in South Florida. I thought Miami was going to be the coolest place to play music, and it was. There was lots of fun venues. I got to see all kinds of cool people. I got to travel from there, and a lot of great opportunities happened. But slowly, as time kind of went on, I started to notice a little rut that I was getting into, and it's hard to keep performing in a tourist city because you don't really get those fans coming back, you know, that they can't come see you next weekend at your next show because they got to Brazil or wherever they're from, you know. And that does happen too in Austin, so to speak. However, I think the fact that it's known as live music, like an acoustic guitar carrying city, people are a little more inclined to come back out, like the locals and stuff will come back out because it's the city of, you know, it's what it's for. And they stay a little bit longer for the music. So it becomes a good relationship with the fan base here whenever you have that ability to see them again, you know, because Miami's fun, but it's lots of like party.
Yeah, that's what I associate with Miami. Dance parties and just like crazy cars going by all the time. Yeah, every time I've been there, it's always like, wow.
I'm thankful for the years I spent there, though, and I highly encourage if any musicians are wanting to go check out that area. It's a great music scene because it's all high energy. It's just energetic. So it teaches you how to give the crowd something, you know, like I felt like that's the best thing I learned from Miami was keep the party going, you know. It's good to have dynamics and also be able to be chill, but it's good to have that in your back pocket. Like you feel like you're ready to start the party, you know, if you have to.
So how old were you when you first started writing songs, and have any of those early songs made it onto your recorded music?
Oh my gosh. I used to write songs when I was very little, and they were very creepy. Like talking about, I was just going off of what I was hearing other people sing about in songs that I love. And I loved like R&B, and I loved like the Spice Girls and NSYNC, and they're all singing about like heartbreaks and stuff. So I'm like 6 years old, like, "Ooh, you broke my heart. I loved you so much." And my mom would read them and be like, "Who do you love? You're 6 years old." And I didn't know what I was talking about. But the first song that I ever wrote on my guitar was a song called So Right. And every now and then I'll pull that one out and sing it at a live gig because it's still a good song. You know, of course, you know, we develop and we change our styles and of course get a little more complex, hopefully as it goes along, or we simplify it up if that's what it needs. But I did not record. I don't think I recorded that one. Not in, it may be recorded, but I'm not sure if it's available online because as we were talking about in our pre-setup over here, some of that stuff, if I hear it, I'm like, is that me? I'll get too cringy and I'll take it off.
That's something about as artists, you know, I've got my YouTube channel used to just be a place where I used to put my conducting videos because, you know, I would just place to store them that people can go and check it out. And then I said I started the podcast there to change my relationship with YouTube.
Then you get a fan base, yeah.
But I hear every performance I hear that I've conducted in the past, all live, I hear every like cough in the audience. I hear every like slight intonation problem in the winds or the strings. And I remember if someone slightly had a hiccup. And,
Or, but that's you just, developing your craft. And I don't think anybody looks back at those and hears what because we pick it apart and we look at it through this tiny microscope, like, oh, what was that? What was this? I am the worst at releasing stuff because I will sit there and listen to it and pick it apart and be like, oh, there's a little hair there. We got to do this. We got to do that. Everybody else in the process is like, let's just let it go. Come on. But it's natural. It's a learning process. So it's natural to want to learn how to be your best.
So tell us about your first like performances that really so you like got the stage and you said this is something I want to do.
Oh man, I used to busk. I used to not be able to. I didn't have experience, so it was really hard for me to get gigs. Um, it also seemed like at the time where I was playing in Boca Raton and in Miami and stuff, there wasn't very much live music going on at the time because this was just. Also, I didn't really know the community, so I may have not been involved in the right places too. But I used to busk, and I eventually busked my way into this frozen yogurt shop where they would hear me in the plaza, and then they'd be like, "Why don't you just scoot over here?" And they would pay me $40 and also free frozen yogurt as much as I wanted. And
Wow.
yeah, but it was, that was huge to me because
Of
I'm in
course.
college. I'm like, this is something really big. I got something to do for my friends to come out and see me. And I felt like I was actually gaining experience. And even though it was just in like a little dinky, it was literally like a Publix parking lot with this little ice cream shop in it. One day, I love this story because it's one of those classic stories of, like if you never know, you got to just be in the right place at the right time. But I'm singing outside of a frozen yogurt shop, not the best look, but I'm being approached by this man who said that he liked my voice, and he asked me if I liked the band Dashboard Confessionals, who is a band from like the early 2000s that I loved, like grew up listening to them. Chris Carrabba's, I'm a big, huge fan.
Oh yeah.
And turns out he was their producer, and he said he was interested in my voice and that he could hear me from across the street, but decided to come over because I happened to be there and like sitting next to a speaker and singing real loud. And we ended up pitching some songs together. Like they were writing songs to pitch to other labels and they needed a girl to sing. And in return, they helped me rewrite and record my song Wildflower that's on YouTube. And it was one of my first songs that I ever released professionally. And I just never, still to this day, it's hard for me to really absorb how did that freaking happen? Just sitting in the right plaza at the right time. And this one guy from this one band that I really love is in the same town for some reason. They had a studio in town because they liked the beachy area. But it's like, what in the world, you just get really lucky sometimes. And ever since, I've made a really good friendship with that producer and we've made some really cool songs. Like there's one that's coming out really soon called Good Lovin' that I have that I think we were going to talk about a little bit today too. But I think that was one of my first gigs when I realized like it doesn't matter where you are or how you feel, as long as you're doing it and you're putting in the work and you're trying to do your best. There's good things that can happen. What's the worst that can happen other than you're learning something. That's
I tell my
really the worst.
students that you can luck is important part, but you wouldn't have had that luck if you were not prepared and you were putting yourself out there and refining your skill set. It takes time.
And it's a recipe, like you said, like skills, or like practicing your skills. They don't have to be perfect because no one's perfect. Everyone's always working and shaping and changing constantly. But it's the being able to take a hit when you can, knowing when to run, like, and all those skill sets. And also just good luck, being out there. And I think good luck is like a net. The bigger your net of like opportunity and trying to catch it and being out there, the more chance that you have for something amazing to happen. Because that's what life is for. It's meant to be lived. It's meant to be gigged. Meant to go out and jam it. I feel like I'm talking to some musician that's just hesitating to go out and gig. Do it.
Yeah, I mean that's the stage is one of your greatest teachers. I mean, getting up there performing, you have to learn how to conquer the nerves. Did you ever have performance anxiety when you were younger?
Oh yeah. But I, even from an early age, I would like do things that I swear were like so embarrassing, but I like wanted to like jumping up on stage and like playing a role in a play. Like I know it's embarrassing and like my friends might laugh at me and stuff, but I just really wanted to do it. So at some point, your body will tell you like I'm tired of hesitating. I just want to get up there, even though you're shaking. You still want to do it, and you have to just get. It's literally just time. It's funny how your body reacts to these things, and so you think like, oh my gosh, I could never do it because I literally shake. But with the practice, it goes away, and then you become so comfortable. It's a big part of it, becoming comfortable on stage and feeling like you're in a room of old friends rather than a room full of strangers, you
Yeah, the
know.
judging eyes, right? I find it's like learning how to manage and take that energy that's always there. If you're not nervous before a performance, you're dead. Take that energy and convert that into like excitement for the audience.
We were talked. And one of my favorite stories about nerves is when one day I was speaking with Jeff Bridges out in Santa Barbara at this show that I was so blessed that a friend knew him, my producer friend Chris Polonis, and he kept saying like, "Oh, we're gonna get him to come out to one of your shows." I'm like, "Okay, that sounds great, but who knows? He's a busy guy." But he ended up coming out, and we had a conversation, and he was saying how nervous he was sometimes to perform and to get ready to perform. Sometimes he would go on walks and stare at the rocks and sing to the rocks because he said it's a lot like the people looking back at you sometimes, just giving you a blank stare. And you think when you're on stage and you're Jeff Bridges, people are just smiling back at you and rooting you on, but even he gets blank stares sometimes. Everybody gets that second guessing performance anxiety of like, am I doing the right things? Is this good? Is this okay? That's when you just got to shut that off and do what feels good, because guaranteed when something feels good, it probably looks and sounds good too, for the
Yeah, that's
most part.
fantastic. Great and great advice. For young people listening, we always have young people listening to the show, and it's so important to hear those things because hearing someone who's conquered that and gone on is very inspirational.
I don't know about conquered it. I still get nervous all the time, but nervous and excited run on the same plane. So if you can funnel that nervousness into I'm excited, that's a different feeling. You
Absolutely. So, how old were you when you first got to the studio?
I think the first time I recorded, it was actually with sister's my sister's ex-boyfriend like a million years ago. He was in a band and he was so nice. He knew that I was starting to play guitar and stuff, and he had an in-home studio. So they let me come in and try to record some songs, but it was all over the place. And that was the first time I had ever tried to record. And none of those songs ended up making it into any kind of sale form or anything like that, because it was a lot of trying, but not a lot of singing.
Probably a great learning experience, right? And a step on the way.
I think I was like 16 or something. I was still, old enough to be able to get in there and feel like I knew what I was doing, but it was very frustrating. I remember feeling very frustrated because singing live and singing in the studio, is a totally different beast. It's like a different outfit you got to wear completely. But it's something like the theme of the game is it's practice. You keep going in there. To this day, I'm still confused about recording sometimes and like how to get the right sounds out. But it's a fun battle. You gotta love it, and you love and you hate it at the same time.
So, when you go to the studio and you go in for a record, how many recordings have you done at this point in your career?
I'm not sure. I think, including some of the ones that aren't still online, probably definitely, I don't know. I'm so bad at doing that, at like looking at the jar of ping pong balls and like guessing. I would say maybe 40,
Wow.
because we've done some that like are full album things, and that's like 10 songs. And then there's another one, 10 songs, maybe close to like 30 something, 40. I don't know. I feel like it's been a long trip since I've started at 16, that sometimes I'll like get a memory that pops in my mind and I almost forgot it, like just with life, sometimes you forget. But I think the studio and I have been good friends for a while, so I think it may be around there, 30 or something. I'm hoping.
Well, that's incredible, and how has your mastery of like, well, getting more comfortable in the studio and working with producers. I mean, I love the kind of this dynamic between the producer and the artist. How things change when you come with material, and the
Oh
producer
yeah.
puts another level on it. It's just always interesting to me that
Oh, I love
dichotomy.
that. The producer and artist relationship is so important. Like the chemistry there, it's more than chemistry. It's like friendship that just it has to work because there's so much communication, even sometimes communication that's beyond speaking that goes down where you just kind of understand things together, and you really want it to be a friendly thing because otherwise it's already kind of frustrating being in there and having to crank stuff out. So as long as it's fun, everything is always a good time. But I found that over time, you learn kind of how to be your best in there so that you give the producer a good time. That's a huge part of it too. When I met Chris Polonis, who lives out in Santa Barbara, I was playing at NAM, one of those situations where I had no idea where this performance is going to take me. I'm probably losing some money flying out to it, but I'm just going to go. Who knows what's going to happen? And then I end up running into him and his awesome family. And they introduced me to the Kenny Loggins and Michael McDonald's experiences and stuff that I had. But I remember the first time in the studio with him, at that point, I was very ready. I had a bunch of songs built up that I had practiced a bunch of times so that whenever we got in the studio, we were able to just crank them right out. I think the longest we would take sometimes would be like 7 or 8 or 9 takes on something, but in the studio world sometimes that's kind of small. At least we're not doing 15 takes on every song.
Yeah, it takes a
So
lot of discipline, right? It takes a lot of discipline and hard work.
yeah, I think you kind of learn how to get shaped up so that you're ready to bring a package in with you almost, because studio time can be money time too. Some people charge out the wazoo for that, but hopefully whenever you get a good producer, you guys come up with a good process of how are we going to finance this and how are we going to both be happy at the end, not be drowning.
Well, it's exciting to watch that come together. And so, of this, of the, yeah, do you have another EP coming out soon? Have you more material coming out in the next couple of weeks, or?
Yeah, I do. I actually have a new song coming out in a few days, really. It's
Wow.
Christmas. And it's called Good Lovin'. I wrote it after a breakup where we had been breaking up a bunch of times, and then it turned into something where it was like the final straw in this song. Like, this is the last piece that I'm doing about this. So then it turned into like a kind of like an anthem with me and my friends and like my sisters. We all love it so much because it's a really dancey song. It's a little different from what my acoustic guitar usually brings because we've got some synth and some other instruments in there. It's a lot of fun. I was kind of playing off of bands that I love, like Sophie Tucker and like just a lot of more electronic sounds. I don't know why I'm fumbling for names. When someone asks you like, what's my favorite band? And
Oh
then you
yeah.
forget every band you've ever heard in your life. But yeah, it's a lot more electronic than my typical stuff. However, after this song, I do have a bunch of acoustic, just raw songs that I've been sitting on for a while, back from when me and Chris Polonis recorded some. So I've been thinking about maybe putting together a little surprise special EP release or something for that in the near future, but that would be in 2022.
It's great to have that pipeline to plan
Yeah,
the release of things and to have the
really.
material ready to go.
That feels good rather than what do I do with my life? I don't have anything. No.
So now, tell us about your America's Got Talent. Being on TV and national television. What was that like? It must have been
Oh,
fascinating.
you're talking about the nerves. That was immediately what I thought about whenever you said that. Because when I went to open my mouth and sing on that stage, all you can hear, because you can't see the amount of people because it's so dark beyond the stage lights, but you can hear them shuffling around and
Is that a good
breathing.
thing or is it a scary thing?
Overwhelming. It's very scary because your brain reacts trying to count how many people are in front of you, and then your body starts to react after that because your brain is telling your body, hey bud, this is more people than you're used to, you should do something, but you have to just push it down. And I remember me mentally trying to push it down, but I had shifted my weight onto another leg. And for the moment that I had a little less weight on my leg was like chattering against the ground. And so I fell back down. I'm like, nope, not today, not right now. It was kind of like a not today, not right now kind of thing. Like, I'm going to do this and I am not going to mess up. But it was a great experience because I had gotten a lot of warnings before doing it, like, hey, watch out, there's some contracts in there, or something bad will happen, or they'll make it look bad, and none of that stuff happened. It was honestly all just an amazing learning experience. They really want everyone to do well on the show so that people will come back and say, where did they come from? Oh, well, this show. So it really is true that they just want to see you rise and to do well. So it was nothing but learning how to be patient, and also how to work long days. Those are like 14-hour days, some of those. And then you get real,
Really?
yeah. And then you got to wake back up the next day and put on the same outfit, walk back out there with a big smile and be ready to go. It's a lot about the real show business, that, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's real hard sometimes, but it's all worth it. When you see, my mom loves that show. So when she got to see, the episodes and stuff, that part was making it all worth it for me. I highly suggest, if anybody sees the opportunity to come around for an audition, go for it, because you never know, like, especially with America's Got Talent, it's not just singing. That's like a dude's breaking ice on his chest next to you, and someone else is shooting an arrow out of their mouth, and like, it's crazy stuff going on. But it's great to be in good company of other people that are just trying to make people happy with what they're doing. It's all in the name of the game as we go.
How'd that open up doors for you, going through all that and being on national television? What type of doors did that open?
Oh man, so many. I felt like, well, of course, just the name, having that attached, people love the show. So it was really interesting to see how differently reactions became whenever I mentioned my past career, but then also that I had been on that show. It was definitely a little more of a light bulb. So it helped get a little more momentum in some ways. Also, my following on like Instagram and Facebook and stuff went up a lot because that show is very big on social media and Twitter and stuff. They loved to interact with people, and because of that, it made me want to interact with people more, which was really cool. But also just getting into certain gigs that I didn't know that kind of thing would be something that would give some sort of validation in a sense, I guess, to some people that are booking. They see that, and then they want to give more opportunity towards, because I guess it's like, oh, well, I like that show, so I might like this person, I guess. But it's funny because I think, everybody could be on that show and show some sort of something, that they do that's amazing. Everybody's got it. It's America's Got Talent, not just like a few people. So I think it's so fun in that, like, the opportunities open up because everybody just loves that idea.
I think it's incredible way to launch the career and to get a lot of people to know who you are and to share that. And what was so as you watch your metrics grow and your own, people are checking out all your older stuff. What's it like getting comments from the audience? Being on social media like you are.
Oh man, it's great. For the most part, people are always super nice and super supportive. And I think they find a way to, even if, there's constructive criticism in there, it's always a really good way to find out what's going on in people's heads, that like what you're doing. And for the most part, people follow because they like it, and it's friendly. I think people fear putting themselves out there on social media because, we're scared of negative backlash or, anything that might be harmful to our feelings about something that we're putting out on a chopping block. But you got to remember, there's really good people out there too, and they really do want to see you do well and stuff. I've really enjoyed getting to know my fan base and stuff, and see they like it whenever I'm being myself, and I'm a little bit goofy in nature, so I feel like I can really do that whenever, I get the responses that I do from some people. Every now and then, you'll get something that it's like, ouch, my soul hurts. But
Yeah, people feel free to say anything on. So that's one thing. You get mostly very supportive things, but sometimes it can be very interesting what people decide to share.
oh yeah. But that's the thing, it's all part of it. It's like life, there's yin and there's yang. You have to love the good so much that when the bad comes along, it just bounces right off of you, and it's the same thing with music. I have an aunt who's a writer, and I think a lot of people can identify with this because I do for sure, and I know everybody, we all talk about it. But my aunt is an amazing writer. Her name's Donna Gillespie. She wrote The Light Bearer. And
Wow! Shout out to Donna.
yeah, she's one of my heroes for sure. She would write awesome books, huge long books that took so much time out of her days, and she put her whole heart into, and would get these amazing rave reviews. And then like one angry dude on some column had something negative to say, and it's not even that bad, but it was like one little thing, and she would just be like, all right, I'm done, no more, packing up the typewriter, no more. And we would be like, what are you talking about, man? This is good. But it's, my mom would tell me that whenever I would at first be getting like little comments here and there, and then kind of feeling like reacting to them, she'd be like, oh, you're just like your aunt, you can't just throw away something that makes you feel really good and makes other people feel good just because one person came by and say, I don't think this is for me. And it's like, all right, it's not for you, and other people still like it and you still like it. It's how it goes. Can't let one comment.
Absolutely, you do establish a thicker skin as you do more publicity. People get to know you, and it's
Yeah.
overwhelmingly very positive. I find that people really want to support people and looking for new music and
Yeah, even the negative stuff, all love, man, because it's all in a way, some way to make yourself better, constructive criticism, or maybe a way to get some thicker skin on, it's all love.
so. You come into as COVID comes along and wrecks all of our as musicians. It was devastating for the musical
A wreck.
community.
All
Live performances are basically stopped or slowed down almost to a crawl, and we all became. I say we've all become philosophers during the COVID period.
yeah.
How did that affect you? And how did you? Was there a break in your creativity, or did you just work through it? Tell us your process during COVID.
Honestly, there was a big gap that I felt suddenly because I felt almost not uninspired, but just overwhelmed. Like there was a lot of stuff going on family wise with my friends. Of course, we all wanted to just see our friends, but we can't. It was just so much to process that I felt myself gapping out. Like I wasn't doing as much as I usually would be. But however, I would force myself to go on live and do some live stuff, and keep in touch with folks, even as depressing as it was to just stay on the computer and, give people, you know, their distance or whatever everyone needed at that time. Whatever. I'm a hugger, so it was real, real hard for me.
People
But
person, right? It's very for the extroverts among us. I'm an extrovert too. It was hard just not to be able to see the friends and
no, just friends. Yeah, I remember crying one day just because I wanted to go out and dance. Like I'm not sick, and I'm not unwell. I have a good life. I just want to dance, and I can't go outside. But it definitely made everybody get a little introspective, and it kind of, I'd say, broke some inhibitions for my songwriting. Like in some ways, I found while sitting at home new ways to speak, because whenever you're bored and you have all this time, you start kind of messing around in ways that you couldn't. I picked up a loop pedal in the time and wrote some new songs that way that I hadn't before. And it definitely, I think everything happens for a reason. I'm still trying to find out everything that I can gather from that time. But I'd say the most number one thing is I was gigging really hard before the COVID stuff, like we all were working real hard. And I thought that I was being driven crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, it's just so many gigs and then I can't do it. After there was none, it just made me remember how much I love being out there and doing live gigging stuff, and how important it is. It's like medicine for people. It's like church for us, for
Yeah,
everybody.
we need that. I need to feel the audience being moved. It was
That,
not the same.
But on a screen, right? Like this is great because I can see you and you can see me. But whenever we're doing the live stuff, I can't see anybody. We just get the little blips that pop up, and you're like, "Is anybody out there?" Okay. Really about the connection, the oxytocin, the being in the same room,
Mm.
warmth of people. It's all about the whole experience, and now we know that. It's not the same without it.
And and the COVID, that all that emotion that filtered into your music, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, there's so much more to say. I feel like when we kind of get thrown against a wall because we feel like we've been treated wrongly, and COVID made us, you know, who are we mad at? This is really just a freak thing.
A
So it makes
generalized virus. How can you be mad? It's
you
like
got
being mad at a rock. It's,
Yeah. So you take it out in your music, man, and it definitely shows through. I think it's given people a lot of room to kind of explore their minds a little bit too. Same with me. So I'm still exploring. I think it's done something, maybe something real good.
well, you have a very positive. Knowing you for the 15 minutes before the show and then for the show, you have such a positive outlook, and that comes through in your music. And I listen to it. It's like I love getting to know the artists. I really enjoy their music. It really deepens
Yeah.
things. I can't wait to listen more and to delve into your
Thank
catalog.
you. Hey man, life can give lots of negatives, but there's so much good stuff. I always say at my shows, cheers to the good things, because it's such a good reminder, and I say it over and over and over until it sits, because there's so many good things, because music is a good thing, and music is everywhere. And I think that's why we all listen to your podcast, because we love it so much. And it's so nice to hear other people and how it's affecting their lives, and to talk.
People's story is so interesting, and I just find that the music's one of the rare things in life that's got the ability to bring people together. I
Yeah,
mean, so much in our society divides us: politics and
yeah.
everything else that's been out there in the news. I mean, there's so much divisiveness, but music has the chance to really make people happy and bring them together.
Does. Even when people try and they're like, "Oh, I don't like this genre. I only listen to this." Those two bands will get together and make a mashup on you, and then all of a sudden we've created a new genre, and it's like even there is just no room for hate in music ever. It just always seems to find love in it. Always fun.
At its best, right? And artists are the people who bring that music. And generally, I find, I can go to another country and work with an orchestra over there or an opera company. And by the end of a couple rehearsals, we're friends. We'll go to the cafe and sit and have a coffee.
So
And I mean,
see, yeah, I would see. I so get why you love that so much, that camaraderie with other people that may not even speak the same language, but that speak the same language. You know what I'm saying? Like in their heart for the music.
we're all
So
artists. And when people come together for a common cause, I find that that's incredibly powerful and it transcends everything else.
that's what it's all about, man. So we got to keep it going. We got to keep it going positive, because otherwise there ain't no room for anything else.
Well, amen, sister. Preach. So you're going to play a song for us, I heard.
Oh yeah, I got my guitar over here. I almost forgot about that. It's like,
So tell us what you'd like to play and tell us a little about the song.
I got this song called Coast to Coast. I wrote it before COVID, of course, and I was traveling around so much that I felt like it was hard for me to keep friendships, relationships, and like promises and stuff. So I just kind of made it funny. So it was like a letter to my friends and family and all the good people in my life. I'm sorry I've been gone.
Can't wait to hear it.
Ready? I've been doing the most. I'm jumping like Jack from coast to coast. I'm a child, but I'm a ghost. I've traded my love for a bag of gold, and I keep on moving, but nothing's staying, 'cause it ain't no more sun and rolling stone. In a boat's gotta pay the cost. I know it's cool, I'll be fine. I've got way too much on aboard my mind. It's true, I'll be alright. If it don't suit me, then I've got to ride. My hands are tied, I got no time for a thing I love to bring my stride. I'm cool, I'll be fine. Sometimes you gotta pack up and leave love behind. Sometimes you gotta leave love behind. Oh yeah. Yes, look me in my face and what do you see? A funky little girl from out to some more springs and I've been running so long about to lose my feet. None of my friends been talking to me, say I look tired, but I'm just fine, cause that's the only way to get by without crying all the time about the love I had to leave behind. It's cool, I'll be fine. Got way too much all up on my mind, and it's true, I'll be alright. If it don't suit me, then I'm right. My hands are tied, I got no time for a thing like love to break my stride. I'm cool, I'll be fine. Sometimes you gotta pack up and leave. Gotta leave love behind. Got to leave love behind. Got to pack up and leave love if you don't need love behind. I'll roll as a joke. I've only got money for food and smokes, and I won't wait, said I'm woke. Yeah, I smelled you coming like a pound of dope, and I can't get distracted, cause staying ain't paying. I don't got an appetite for a fight like you. Can't do all the things you want me to, cause I'm cool, I'll be fine. Got way too much all up on my mind, and it's true, to be alright. If it don't suit me, then I'm riding. My hands are tied, got no time for a thing like love to break my stride, and I'm cool, I'll be fine. Yeah, I'm cool, I'll be alright. I'm cool, I'll be fine. Babe. Sometimes you gotta pack up and leave love behind. Cheers.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening.
That was awesome. I love the song. Great song. You know, very serious topic, but presented in a fun way. And
what I'm saying, you got to make it fun. I will never be serious.
Having that kind of approach to life is really helpful, because being a musician is a lot of traveling, it's a lot of sacrifices, and but in the end, we get out there and make people happy. We lost Carly's transition, but having a great show with Carly Joe Jackson, who just sang for us live, and we're delighted that she could join us. Check her out on social media. Check out her website at carlyjoejackson.com, and check out her on Spotify and all of those streaming platforms. She's an artist on the rise and is putting wonderful music out there. Her music is a ray of sunshine. Thank you so much for joining us on Music Matters with Jason Tramm. Please remember to subscribe on YouTube and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on upcoming guests and topics. Like and share our videos. And remember, keep music alive.